This adventure walks players and GMs through all phases of the game. Player-facing rules are described during the adventure, but related rules and definitions are located in the back. Prologue: A Day in the Life. The scene begins like any other day at Mecha Assault Force headquarters. Ishido Air Base has a constant murmur of activity. Enlisted personnel train and maintain the base. Engineers tinker and upgrade the equipment. Captain Raide Cappy Fujima reviews tactics, looking for ways of improving his team's survivability in combat. Specialist Keiko Oho Watanabe plays a dating simulator game, keeping score on how many partners she steals from her computer avatar's friends. Lieutenant Ace Kazuragi and his sister, Lieutenant Jasmine Deuce Kazuragi, spar in the gym. These training sessions are always popular with MAF personnel. The siblings are intensely competitive, so their sparring sessions make popular entertainment on base. As brother and sister enter the gym and head for the wrestling mats, pop-up windows appear on many computer screens, broadcasting the event across the base.
So sis, still training for the octagon?
At least I have a goal.
What do you mean, I've got a goal? My dude picks me up at the gate at 6.
Well, I better pretty that face of yours up then.
Introducing game mechanics. It's always more fun to introduce game mechanics through player actions. One of the most important mechanics is narration. Mecha vs. Kaiju is a storyteller game with lots of fun, crunchy bits that turn your narrative descriptions into in-game effects. Anytime there's a conflict, one person has a chance to take the lead and perform their action before the others. Sometimes this action lead is obvious based on the situation when conflict begins. If it's unsure who should go first, or if more than one character can go first, you roll for initiative. Take the D20 fortune die. This represents luck, chance.
I think they used to call that the fickle finger of fate.
Right, because it is fickle. Sometimes fortune's on your side and sometimes it's against you. Roll the fortune die to determine your initiative. If you have any reaction points, add those in. We'll talk about reaction in a minute. Ace, you rolled higher than Deuce, so you are action lead. Narrate how you want to start the sparring match.
Okay, little sis, you're gonna have a problem doing anything when you're flat on your butt. I crouch low and spin, kicking the sleeper legs out from under her.
Okay, that's what you hope will happen. Knocking Deuce to the ground will make it harder for her to fight back. This is called a condition. Anything that makes an action more difficult for a character is a condition. In this case, Ace, you're trying to put a prone condition on Deuce, but you won't know the actual result until you take an action. Anytime you try to make something happen in a scene, you take an action. If no one tries to prevent it, it just succeeds. If someone does try to stop your action, you roll dice to determine if you're successful. Hey, since you're going to take an action, let's take a look at your character sheet. In Mecha vs. Kaiju, player characters, or PCs, have narrative traits that describe aspects of their character. These aspects are descriptors that tell you things about the character. Now, this is really important to understanding the game. Aspects are true. If an aspect says that the character believes something or is a particular thing, then that is true. If you get an aspect that says you're blind or immobilized, then you really can't see and can't move. So drive aspects describe real things about your character. Drives are the goals or motivations that move a character to do things. They answer the question, what idea is fueling my character's action? Drives describe aspects of a character's personality. When you look at Ace's drives, you can figure out what kind of person they are. Style is the way a character does things. It answers the question, how is my character going to perform this action? Style always affects the way things turn out in a scene. If you succeed boldly, that's going to be really different than if you succeed subtly. Values represent a character's core beliefs or concepts. It answers the question, what is important to my character in this action? They come in pairs, so often you'll see one is significantly stronger or weaker than the other. And one value is always higher because it's a guiding value of your archetype. When you create a PC in Mecha vs. Kaiju, you start with the archetype based on famous characters from anime. This has descriptors and special abilities that define the kind of character you are. So you should always look for opportunities to use your archetype abilities. Now each of these traits has a trait die. These are either D4, D6, or D8 to start. The higher the trait die, the more important it is to you. That doesn't mean the trait is better, just that you consider it more important than other things. So Ace, are you familiar with your character?
Yep, ready to go.
Alright, then it's time to call out your traits. Anytime a player rolls an action, they call out their traits. You'll choose one trait from each trait set, drive, style, and value, and add that trait die to your dice pool. When you do this, explain what your character is thinking. Answering the question at the top of the traits set on the character sheet is a great way to do this. Calling out your traits is a role-playing activity all its own, and it helps you personalize your actions and further define who you are.
Alright, I love getting Deuce's goat, so I'm gonna use the drive try to make someone mad. I'm trying to end this fight before it starts, so this is a swift action. I really want to look good doing this, so I'm passionate about showing up my sister.
So you have a dice pool of 1d6 and 2d8. Add a d20 fortune die to your pool and roll them all together. To find out if you're successful, let's figure out your action total. Add the 2 highest die results. This is the number that determines whether or not you're successful. Then count how many dice rolled 4 or higher. This is your impact. Impact determines how much effect your character has on the scene.
Alright, so I got an action total of 21 with an impact of 2. You're going down, Deuce.
There's no way I'm gonna let him get away with this. How do I defend myself?
Anytime you try to prevent a character's action, you roll to counter that action. So call out the traits you think Deuce would use to defend yourself.
Well, I've got to prove that I'm just as good as my big brother. He's going real flashy now, so I'm gonna do a subtle sidestep and get out of the way. Though I know my brother and I watch him a lot closer than he watches me, so I know all his moves. My kingship's going to really help here.
All right, Deuce has a dice pool of 2d6, 1d8, and a d20 fortune die. Roll them and add the 2 highest die results together to get your counter total.
23, your leg flashes out, but I don't even flinch. I sidestep half an inch out of your reach.
Sorry, Ace, you didn't connect. But one of the worst things about dice-based games is that both players can have amazing descriptions, but only one can succeed. It's boring to have a turn where you do absolutely nothing. That's why Mecha vs. Kaiju uses minimum impact. You're big damn heroes, which means your actions should have at least some kind of impact on the scene. So if your action is countered, you still usually generate 1 point of minimum impact. Now you can spend impact to create a number of effects in-game. You could create a boon for yourself. This is an aspect that makes your actions easier whenever it's narratively appropriate. You could put a condition on a character, like prone. However, Ace, since you were trying to create a condition when you were countered, you can't perform that action. You could create an aspect on the scene. That would be some situation that could potentially affect everyone. The thing about aspects on the scene is anyone can invoke them if it's appropriate for them. And of course, if you're trying to hurt someone physically or emotionally, you can cause stress. However, you're never allowed to cause stress with minimum impact. The last thing you can use impact for is to give yourself reaction points. This represents your ability to resist stress, kind of like fighting defensively. Whenever you take stress, you can absorb it with reaction on a one-to-one basis. So, what would you like to use your 1 point of impact for?
I'll sweep up like I meant to do that and start bouncing on my feet ready for a punch back.
Great, let's give you a combat stance boon? 1 point of impact will get you a D4 trait die. Now that boon will last until the end of the scene, and if you want, you can spend more impact to improve it throughout the scene.
Awesome.
All right, Deuce, it's your turn. What do you want to do?
Well, I gotta give him a black eye for his big day tonight, so I'm going for stress. The heel of my foot is going right in his eye socket.
Yikes, all right, call out your traits.
Okay, this is gonna help me get out from under my brother's shadow. This is a bold action, but my strong suit, but dang, he's just so smug. You know, Ace may be kin, but no one hurts you more than the ones you love. Is it okay to use kinship again? I don't want to just spam the same traits all the time.
You're telling a story. Sometimes they repeat themselves. And actively trying to justify your best traits is also a storytelling tool. You know, they once made a whole movie about a gymnast who somehow was able to use gymnastic equipment to do martial arts.
Gymkhana.
Oh my god, that movie is so bad.
Yeah, but sometimes cheesy is fun. So yeah, if kinship is the most important thing to Deuce right now, you can absolutely use it again.
Okay, my dice pool is 2d6 and a d4.
Plus the fortune die.
Right. Oh, a 20 with an impact of 3.
Okay, Ace, call out your traits. How are you going to defend yourself?
So she's trying to show me up, which means I have to try and impress the people watching. I'm going to do a foot dodge, a real creative dodge. And I'm really relying on my own abilities and training here, trying to grab the spotlight, so I'll use self-reliance.
Okay, roll it.
Come on. I only got an 11 with an impact of 2.
You don't actually generate impact with your counter, so you can just call out the counter total. Okay, you did not counter, so Deuce, how do you want to spend your impact? At least 1 point has to go towards what you were trying to do, but you can spend impact on more than one thing.
Oh, can I do stress and a condition?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm gonna do 1 point of stress for that black eye and then knock him on his butt.
All right, there is an audible whoa from the observers, and it's clear they did not see that coming.
Neither did I.
Ace, mark off one box on your vigor, and you now have a D6 prone condition. Suddenly, the lights start flashing, the emergency klaxons sound. It's the call to action. Deuce, you grab Ace's hand, pull him up, and both rush to the hangar bay along with the rest of the Mecha Assault Force personnel. Deuce, since you generated the most impact in that conflict, I'm going to give you a bragging rights boon at D6 until the end of the scene. Ace, you still get to keep your combat stance boon. And your black eye.
Aw man, what about the stress?
You still have that, however Mecha have their own stress track, so you shouldn't have to worry about it. Unless things go really wrong on this mission.